Morning, councillors, CEO, directors, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start by acknowledging the fact that this wonderful place we call home has seen a human occupation dating back about 60,000 years. It's one of the oldest living cultures on the planet. And so when we gather together as a council and as a community, we pay our respects to the traditional custodians of our land and honour their elders past, present and those emerging. So this council meeting is being streamed live in accordance with the council's standing orders and will be published and also in accordance with those standing orders. Welcome to our online audience, welcome to the members of the public, and I draw your attention to the notice in the bottom right of the screen there to say that you, by being here, you're consenting to your image and voice if you speak to be published and recorded in the council's standing orders. So thank you. I declare the meeting open. Councillor Hassan, could we please, you're going to be the public goer, you have to be quiet, thank you. Councillor Hassan, can you hear? Thanks very much. Councillor Hassan joins us via live stream. Our opening prayer today, Pastor Joy Wright is here. Pastor Wright, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Williamson. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for your presence here this morning. We thank you for your goodness and love and truth. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this region that you have placed us in and called us to live and to serve. Father, we thank you, Lord, for the mayor here this morning. Lord, we thank you for the councillors. We thank you for each council staff person, Lord, and just that you have placed them here to govern, Lord, to serve and to be here for the community, Lord. And Father, I pray for each person in the room this morning. Lord, I just ask for your wisdom to be poured out in abundance, Lord, your true heavenly wisdom, Lord, which you tell us begins with the fear of you, Lord, Yahweh. And Father, is full of grace and truth. Lord, it is pure and peace-loving and full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere. Lord, it is considerate and submissive. And so, Lord, we pray that you would pour that out this morning. And we thank you, Lord, that you promise us, Lord, that as we ask for wisdom, you will give it because you are the giver of all good gifts. We praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thanks very much, Pastor. No apologies, condolences. At this stage, councillors, it might be an ideal opportunity just to recognise the fact that the 65th anniversary of the Pocket Friendship crash we've just commemorated on the 10th of June. And of course, it remains Australia's worst general aviation, civil aviation disaster that happened here. A lot of our families were affected at the time. So I think we've not mentioned it at council before, so I think this is an opportune time to do that. And also, whilst we're on that, the worst aviation disaster in Australia was, of course, the Lakers Creek crash during World War II, which was on the 8th of June. And also, that was a commemoration ceremony just held recently, which many councillors went to as well. No further condolences? Okay, let's move on. Conflicts of interest. There's 3 that have been registered. Myself for agenda item 17.1, Councillor Shinny for agenda item 17.1, Councillor Bella for agenda item 17.5. Are there any further conflicts of interest? None? Okay, let's move on to the confirmation of the minutes. The minutes of the meeting of the 28th of May. They've been circulated. No real questions around that. Would somebody like to move that they be adopted? Councillor Jones moves, seconded by Councillor Mackay. Those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Now, confirmation of the minutes of the 4th of June. That was a special meeting, of course, that we had to call for the 4th of June. Very simple minutes. Would somebody like to move that they be adopted? Councillor Mackay, seconded by Councillor Patton. Those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Business arising out of the minutes, there's no mayoral minutes today, so we'll move straight on to the consideration of committee reports and recommendations. And the draft minutes of the audit committee have been circulated or part of this agenda. Are there questions? No questions? So we'd like to move the adoption of the draft. Councillor Johnson moves. Councillor Jones seconds. Councillor Johnson? Pretty well as read. I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. Thank you. The Arts, Culture and Heritage Strategic Advisory Committee, the draft minutes are in your agenda. And are there questions around this at all? Would somebody like to move that? Who's going to move that? Councillor Patton moves, seconded by Councillor Corriver. Councillor Patton.
Yeah. So there continues to be a lot of exciting work to be being undertaken in our strategic committee. I'd like to just take this opportunity to acknowledge the efforts of our staff and all those involved, not only to get these opportunities underway, but also seeing them to fruition. It was exciting to meet Mackay creatives and hear the potential collaborations with their organisation and council, to hear obstacles faced by budding artists and how we could be of aid to mitigate them, could potentially forge stronger relationships inside that arts community, which could very well be the direct link to showcasing future talents and providing community interaction and events. We spoke to the support of the Australian South Sea Islander Recognition Family Day celebration and the First Nations storytelling and wayfinding signage project. Your Worship, if I may, I'd just like to voice my support on all fronts for these projects. I feel community-focused concepts such as these, which also shine a spotlight on the histories of our region, are imperative to strengthen our identity and the unity, tourism and potential business and economic possibilities that spawn from these types of events and initiatives of this type is truly exciting and welcomed. So,
thanks very much, Councillor Patton. Speaker against? Any other speakers? No other speakers? I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? Did you vote, Councillor Hazen?
She's just notified me she's having some
Having some
bit of a
sound?
lag. There's a bit of
Has been cold, but I'm not freezing. Thanks, Councillor Hatton. You're in favour. That's motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Let's move on. The Sustainability Strategic Advisory Committee, the draft minutes are there for their meeting on the 3rd of June. Are there questions? No questions? Would somebody like to move? Councillor Jones moves, seconded by Councillor Sheedy. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Worship. Councillor Sheedy and I found this meeting to be of great benefit, especially the EV information that was shared by our guest speaker, Jordan from Movement. And we do thank the NQBP for arranging his visit to our meeting. Some interesting points were raised around the EV machinery that is on or coming on to the market, such as forklifts and lighting towers and generators, and some interesting information regarding the NQBP and their transition into small plant and the staff that were embracing that in a very positive way. I did ask the question at the time because I'd heard that if there's no connectivity that our actual EVs don't function. But apparently that's not the case. The internet is required for updates, but that's all. It doesn't stop the car from working. So in a disaster, you'll still be able to drive a car. Moving on to an update from cane growers, obviously they've started their crush, we all know that, but they also received 100% reaccreditation, which is great. And we heard from the Mackay Conservation Group, who are another of our external stakeholders, and they advised that they've recently employed a renewables research staff member. So we're all looking forward to the information that's shared at our next meeting. We have got a couple of good speakers coming up, including Rin and Wildfire Energy coming to our group. So, Your Worship, I ask for Council's endorsement on these minutes.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. Speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Let's move on to the correspondence and officers' reports. Nels, the Mayor and CEO. My report is tabled. Are there questions?
Thank you, Worship. I just note that you met with the Queensland Audit Office, and I wondered whether or not that might be something that maybe the councillors might be able to attend next time that they come. I'm just thought that, you know, with all of our budget training and things like that, it's probably a good thing that we could attend, but I'll leave that in your hands. And also I wanted to ask, and I know I've asked this question before, Your Worship, on the same page we talk about, you know, you met with Dharma to talk about the Dharma and said, and I know that previously you've said that it's on hold, but because you've met with them, I just wondered with the Immigration Department, do you have any idea on how much longer the government is going to take and what council could do to ensure, we have available for any of these migrants if and when they come to Mackay.
This meeting was not with Dharma itself. This meeting was with a private contractor who works in that field.
Oh, okay.
And explaining the intricacies of Dharma applications. Dharma applications can be regional,
Yep.
Or they can be industry specific.
Right.
And there's some overarching attachments to either application. The regional application is probably the best one. There's no further indication as to when that might happen in the Mackay region.
Okay. And what about the Queensland Audit Fund?
The Queensland Audit Office is generally a report to the Mayor and the CEO, but we can certainly ask next time around.
Thank you.
Councillor Johnson.
My question was just about the Serena District Progress Association meeting we had. It notes in the report that during the 6 months while staff finished the accessioning of the items, we're committed to working with the community to take a plan to the wider community to see what the direction of the Field of Dreams will be. So are you able to advise what are the next steps moving forward, and is the department going to bring an engagement plan to council for approval?
Certainly, that will be the next step for council's involvement. Once that's put together, it'll obviously come to council. We'll discuss it at council, and then the next steps for the Serena community involvement for the Serena community will happen after that.
Yeah, so just confirming that there'll be communication to the community within the 6 month period.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions? Councillor Corrigan.
Thank you, Worship. But just a question around the meeting with the Premier, Chris Foley. I noticed there was a conversation around obviously the homelessness, police powers, around community safety and antisocial behaviour. Any sort of update on that for the community? Because I know that's a pretty hot topic at the moment.
It's an ongoing discussion point, and it involves many ministerial touch points. It's safe to say that the Premier is cognizant of all of those facts, and also the fact that the government needs to do something about all of those issues. Homelessness is the top issue on their agenda at the moment. And so we've got, there's several discussions happening around his promise of we'll find the land, find the builder, and we guarantee we'll fill the rooms for you. That's easier said than done. But those sorts of things are underway. The discussion points around Queensland Police's involvement in antisocial behaviour is also quite topical. It involves the Police Minister and several agencies here in Mackay. But look, it was very helpful to understand that the Premier is actually pushing the driving levers on all of this. So it was not much you can actually do in terms of a physical outcome of that meeting, except that to put it on the agenda and make sure that we understand the Premier is driving it. Further questions? No further questions? Happy to move my report. A seconder, Councillor May. Is there anybody who wants to speak to it? You want to speak to it? Councillor Mackay, you're speaking for.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to highlight the meeting that you had with Nick Seeley, just in relation to the Serena pool plans. Really excited to see that meeting has happened and that things are progressing. And just really looking forward to that coming back to a briefing to council with their suggestions. So yeah, can't wait.
We haven't got them yet, but
It says it
I'm
there.
waiting with bated breath.
Yeah.
Any other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. Still with the Office of the Mayor and CEO, the CEO's monthly report from May. CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. So again, a very comprehensive report from across the whole of the business, but a couple of items to call out. A little bit late because it's a month ago, but the Mayor's Charity Ball was undertaken during May with to call out their 100% satisfaction rating survey from attendees. There's a range of projects that are listed within the report there that are nearing completion, so that's good to see, and also some good feedback in relation to surveys in relation to the library. And finally, just calling out the Small Business Month and activities that occurred there, which is timely given later on in the agenda. We've got actually the Small Business Friendly Commitment matter to consider. So otherwise, either myself or I'm sure one of the directors will be happy to answer any questions in relation to the specifics, particularly about any of the projects.
Thanks, CEO. Questions? Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Worship. Look, I know I'm grasping at straws here, and I know the staff are grasping at straws, but I just wanted to ask a couple of questions around the vacancies. So, you know, we have 203 vacancies reported, and I know it's really impossible to advertise for all of those roles at once, it's just not possible. But it's great to see that we had 447 people apply for 41 positions. So I know that the right person has to be the right person for the job, but we just have so many vacancies, CEO. I wondered if there's, I guess the look at any particular people that may not have quite 100% what we need. Are they encouraged through constructive feedback to go away and maybe get that particular qualification or experience if they're really keen to work for council, and then, or have we considered taking people on knowing that they're not 100% there, but if we gave them that little bit of training, you know, to polish their skills a little, you know, because 203, that's probably one of our higher numbers of vacancies. So just like I say, grasping at straws.
Yeah.
Thank you, Worship. This is probably a fairly general question, so I'll probably give a fairly general answer. So 203, you have to understand that that's anywhere in the process. So that could well be somebody resigned yesterday, right through to we've had the last range of interviews, etc. Coming back to your question, I think as an organisation where we're going is there's obviously certain roles that need specific qualifications. So whether it's RPEQ or CPA or whatever it is, and those will be non-negotiable. Outside that, we do try and recruit on attitude over experience, etc. So you know, it's all about getting the right person, and the other thing is it's also making sure that we don't get the wrong person. So I'm not sure that necessarily answers the question, but you know, some of them are non-negotiable so far as qualifications that we require, and others we would certainly look at attitude and have some flexibility in relation to the rest.
That's the part that I was interested in, so thank you for the comments.
Okay. Any other questions of the CEO? No other questions? Somebody would like to move the report's adoption? Sorry, Councillor Jones moves. Councillor Patton seconds. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted to put out a shout out to the Health and Reg team. They're doing really, really well with their stats at the moment, even though they are short-staffed. And also looking at how well the SnapSend Solve is performing, and our customers liking its functionality. I myself used it again on Sunday when I happened to be in the Pioneer River, noticing that the floodgates were open, so or some of the floodgates were open, not all of them. So I know that our residents are very grateful for the I call it the Triple S, but the SnapSend Solve. Also a shout out to our staff in the planning development section. It's great to see their stats, the great feedback from local developers that we've had saying that the timeframes are terrific. So that's all I had to say.
Thanks very much, Councillor Jones. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Mackay, speaking for.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to highlight the Mackay Waterfront Place strategy, and also give a shout out to the incredible team that we have got working in that area. Just the effort and the presentation of the consultation for all the ideas and all the pop-ups and things that have happened in the city heart to get the community's feedback. It was really well done, and I just look forward to seeing the end result once it's all compiled.
Thanks very much, Councillor McRae. Are there any other speakers? No other speakers. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.1.3, the Electoral Division's consultation. As a result of a motion adopted at the March ordinary meeting of Council. This is a report back to Council as requested by that motion. And obviously we've had discussions around this. The officer's recommendation is that Council notes the findings of the preliminary community consultation undertaken between the 4th of May and the 1st of June regarding the potential transition from undivided to a divided representation, and that Council notes that the results did not indicate strong community support for changing it from undivided to divided representation, and as such no further action be taken at this time. Are there questions? Councillor McRae.
Did we have a total cost for the low cost consultation? Did we get a total cost?
Through you, Worship, I'm not sure we've tallied that up. I think the discussion we had previously was there was some printing undertaken. I think that was in the order of about $500. Most of the rest of it was done in-house.
So staff time, basically. And
legal costs.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, my
question, my question was around our large public consultation that we do for the community engagement for the attitude survey. So I'm not interested in what is the difference between moving on to the electoral division process and what that engagement was, but that being one of our largest engagements, what was the cost of something like that to be performed by council?
Sorry, which one was it?
The community attitude survey.
Yeah, you hit me cold. I'm thinking it was about.
For your worship, so anywhere from say 30,000 to 50,000. We've done polls of 500 people and 1,000.
Yep.
So the 1,000 people is around 50,000.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Okay, further questions? I note that Councillor Jones has foreshadowed an alternative motion which is set out. We have to deal with the officer's recommendation first before, if that gets defeated, then the alternative motion will be put on the table. So would somebody like to move the officer's recommendation? Councillor May moves, seconded by? I'll second it. Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. It's a good process to be undertaken by our officers. The small sample of people that participated in the survey, we note from the numbers there that nearly a quarter of them come from Serena and quite a number from the Midge Point areas, which I think in itself sends a message to council around we probably need to have a look at how we're engaging in our rural communities. But as for the moving forward with the electoral boundaries and the divisions, it's quite an expensive process as been outlined in the report, and I would think that at this point in time, spending $700,000 on that process with no guaranteed outcome from that process is probably something that we shouldn't be spending our money on at this point in time.
Thank you very much. Speaker against, Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Worship. I'm speaking in motion today, Your Worship. Councillors, today I reflect on why we raise our hands to run for council. My belief is that our primary purpose is to represent Mackay effectively, and to do that, consultation with our community is essential. We're facing a legacy issue here in front of us that needs our attention. As you know, in 2008, our council underwent amalgamation and becoming undivided. However, the transition was not accompanied by community consultation. Our community lost their divisional councillors without the opportunity to indulge in dialogue. At the time, I questioned how would we maintain connections to the community without divisions, and I was assured that the engagement activities plan would bridge a gap. But sadly, that promise did not materialise. For 17 years, I have received numerous calls from residents inquiring about who their local representative is, highlighting a disconnect. We must consider the current tension within the community stemming from and the feeling of being unheard. If our communications were effective, then we wouldn't be facing some of these issues we have in Serena and Midge Point and the Valley. Just last Friday, I was asked when a councillor would be visiting Youngula. They haven't seen a councillor for almost a year. And a few weeks ago, a similar question from a resident in Shoal Point who wanted to know who his local councillor was. This initial consultation was never meant to be the sole method of engagement. It was a way to test the waters without imposing a significant financial burden on council. It was out there for 4 weeks. You cannot get a majority opinion about a major change in our community in 4 weeks. This data was never intended to go to the Minister without further comprehensive engagement. Phase 2 is where we can truly educate our residents. It's about ensuring that they make an informed decision about whether to return to divisions or maintain the status quo. The feedback from 834 residents is impressive. 721 expressed a desire for change, and this indicated that 87% support going back to divisions. This data should compel us to act, as it reflects a community eager for representation. While the report suggests that our low-cost sample is inadequate, it is crucial to recognise that the community came to us. We now need to go to them, and we owe it to our residents to listen, especially since they were deprived of a voice 17 years ago. So the cost of $700,000 that's been bandied around for engagement. It was mentioned, but I'm told that this figure could possibly be slightly inflated, and because of that, they did not go ahead in Toowoomba. Now, That means that, you know, the democratic right of their ratepayers did not have a chance to have their say. But we are not Toowoomba, Your Worship. As a community, we must assess the unique needs of and circumstances of our community. Our major consultations in the past with community attitude surveys, livability surveys, are just a small portion of what is being suggested with the $700,000. And while I have no doubt that there's going to be a cost involved, we are Mackay Regional Council and we look at the costs in a much more efficient way and do it our way. Mayor, you have previously said that you would investigate divisions, so here we are with the opportunity to investigate whether divisions would benefit our community or not. We need to make informed decisions and we need to engage a significant portion of our residents effectively. Let's be clear that today we are only voting on consultation. The vote for divisions or no divisions will not take place until March 2026. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. Speaker 4. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Johnson speaking against.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry. I do not accept that this is not enough of the public to move forward with further consultation. We have made decisions or strategic direction from community engagement far less than what has been collected from this survey. The Mackay Region's Museum Development Plan community engagement had 241 people respond, with 89.2% living in region, and we use that data to inform our strategic direction on museums in the region. The Slade Point Dog Park had 68 people sign a petition and a further 82 people attend a community engagement, and from that we committed to constructing a dog park, and both of these activities have spent ratepayers' money. I understand that 834 survey responses is not enough to progress to the formal review of the electoral structure, but it is enough to make a choice to further investigate and engage with our community. It's now the time to listen. People want a say on how they're represented around this table, and it is our job to hear them. So before we dismiss further consultation, we need to put in the genuine effort and sufficient resources to properly understand if there is community interest.
Thank you very much, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Hassan, sorry I didn't see your hand up. Are you speaking for or against? Councillor Hassan. Thank you very much. Are there other speakers? No other speakers? You want to write a reply?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Yes, I think the main points here are there's 90,000 voters in our particular Mackay Regional Council area, of which 830 chose to respond, and not all of them were in favour. So I take from that, Mr Mayor, that the other 89,000 odd people are happy with what we've currently got. And if I draw my mind back to the amalgamation, and I happen to be the Mayor of Sarina Shire when we were amalgamated, I can absolutely tell you that we consulted with our community through town hall meetings regarding the amalgamation and the setup of the council prior to the amalgamation, whether we were having divisions or no divisions. And at that point in time, the three councils actually looked at that, and it was a unanimous decision by the three councils to go for the undivided council. And the main reasoning around that was having fair and equitable representation, making councillors accountable for the whole council area, not just a pocket of it that a divisional councillor needs to serve. I think also in this tight budget time that we have, and it's getting tighter and tighter. I don't know about anybody else that sits around this table, but I can tell you from the 20 odd budgets that I've been a part of, it's never been tougher than what it is in this particular year, and I don't see any relief coming in coming years either. We have to do better with the money that we've got. We've got to make it go further and spend it in the right place. And spending that sort of money on a consultation process to where you might not get an outcome that you want anyway, I think is just not bearable at this point in time. The representation from the councillors, I think is, we've taken and we've done a number of things over the years, from allocating divisional areas of responsibility. We did that in 2016 to 2020, where we had 5 areas allocated, 2 councillors for each area that were the go-to councillors. We've also, through that whole process of trying to engage better with our community, we have established the Council and Community Day, where we go and meet with community members, we go and meet with community organisations to enable us to hear firsthand what's happening in our community. Yes, we can always do things better. We can always do things better. And the other part that really concerns me in this process is the staff time. How much time is this going to take our staff to organise this comprehensive engagement process? And we all know that their time is precious. It's very precious, and that if they're doing this, which is not in the budget, if they're doing this, we're going to take them from doing something else. So I think those sorts of things need to be mindful of any decision that we make today.
Thanks very much, Councillor May. So, councillors, whilst it doesn't affect me in terms of divisions from the Mayor's position, the arguments that I've heard about maintaining connections and feeling that they are unheard, and who's my councillor, it's you. There's 10 of them. There's 10 elected mayors here, and if the people are feeling unheard, that's on you. So we need to up that ante, and that's probably not in divisions in my summation at this stage. So I'll put that motion in. The officer's recommendation is that council notes the findings of the preliminary community consultation, and that the council notes that the results did not indicate strong community support for changing from undivided to divided representation, and as such, no further action is taken at this time. Those in favour? Those against? So, thank you. That's 5-5. The motion is defeated. Sorry.
5-5 and the motion's defeated.
Sorry. I obviously voted for the motion. The motion is carried.
Because you use your casting vote.
I use my casting vote, that's right. Thank you. All right. Okay, let's move on. The corporate plan, 11.2, is that it? No, wait, hang on. Council policies. 11.2.1, the adoption of council policies. So the policies up for adoption today are COU 31, the grants policy, and number 20, the advertising spending. Are there questions? No questions? Would somebody like to move then that council adopts the grants policy number 31 and the advertising spending policy number 20? Councillor May moves, seconded by Councillor Patton. Councillor May, pretty well straightforward. Those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried. Thank you. Now the corporate plan. So the corporate plan, councillors, we've had briefings, we've had a couple of workshops on the corporate plan. The corporate plan is now presented for your adoption. It's the leading document, as you know, in our financial planning, and it's a legislative requirement for the council to adopt under the local government regulations. Are there questions? No questions? So the officer's recommendation is that council adopts the 2024-2029 corporate plan, and that the council delegates authority to the CEO to undertake an update of the corporate plan following the appointment of a new CEO and the election of a councillor as a result of the 2025 by-election. Somebody like to move? Anybody? Councillor Johnson? Councillor May seconds. Councillor Johnson?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The corporate plan lays out a clear direction for where we're heading as a region. It highlights the themes that matter most to community and ensures that we are meeting the services not only for today but for the future. So I'm happy to endorse this plan today.
Thank you very much. Is the speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried. Thank you. 11.3. In community services, there's nothing in community planning and growth and sustainability. We have 11.4.1 now. An MCU for a development permit for a tourist park, Lot 34 Adamson Street, Halliday Bay. We've got a couple of speakers on this one. 3 speakers actually on this one. Now, well, Mr. Williams, Ms. Cox and Mr. White, the order is that you have 3 minutes. This is not an interactive session with council, but you've got 3 minutes to deliver your presentation to council, and we'll listen. So, Mr. Williams, Richard Williams.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. Very briefly, and I should say, I speak as a local resident of 47 years. I am probably the oldest person. I'm in my 90th year, and I'm actually quite appalled when I saw the stuff that was shoveled out about a developer coming in and adding 95 caravans and virtually changing everything that has actually never been addressed by the council. Things like getting rid of sewerage, septic, whatever the system is, all of which in the end, if it didn't work, would finish up in the sea. That area is too small. It is too pristine. There is too much to lose to even consider an organisation like that. This is just favouring money. And that is the history of Halliday Bay, right from the time when a man sitting in your position, the Mayor of Mackay, was going into a partnership to do a development at Halliday Bay with a man called Hannay, who was eventually finished up in jail, but in a lot of trouble. This has been where everything is centred on what the profit is likely to be for a corporation or an individual. In the process of fighting all these things in 47 years, I've been sued up to $280,000 on stop arrest to shut my mouth. This is not the way. I appreciate the thing that you said about the inclusion of people to get an opinion. There is not enough being said. The drainage at Halliday Bay, from your point of view, has never been addressed. The streets that I live on allow my house to be flooded every 3rd year because the water that you're proposing to put a road down is flowing down the mountain through the Adamson Street and into Halliday Bay Road. That has never been addressed in all the years I've been there. My 3 minutes must be up, but anyway.
You've got a little bit more time, Mr. Williams. So
I appreciate what you've done, and I just plead that you take into account that this is affecting people. In a broader sense, Australia, like the rest of the Western world, is developing an ageing population where people are looking for something pristine. And I regard Halliday Bay, and I have cruised in my boat from here to Cooktown, and it's the best. Look after what is the best. Don't allow money to come in to dictate.
thanks, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
Right on 3 minutes. Very good. Thank you. Rosemary Cox. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning to the Mayor, councillors and the general public. My name is Rosemary Cox. I am a ratepayer and resident of the area. I have several concerns about the development, but I will first pose a probably rhetorical question. How many councillors who will vote on this proposal today have actually been to the proposed Halliday Bay site, and who have spent time genuinely investigating what will happen on the ground? This proposal encompasses two areas on the property concerned. That is the eastern area, which historically has previously been a van park. The other area is to be newly developed. This is a long strip behind Adamson Street, and this is currently a wildlife gathering point and corridor. In that fragile corridor, the fragile corridor is daily inhabited by, for example, much wildlife. We'll concentrate on the agile wallaby population. They live on the hillside, ridges and headland areas. The proposed van park, which is parallel to and behind Adamson Street, is a mostly flat open strip, which I and other locals refer to as the fire break. The wallabies and other wildlife spread out during the day through backyards and other low-lying areas between the houses. With the development, the wildlife would be redirected either up or down the van park fence, approximately 650 metres long, or straight out onto Halliday Bay Road. It would be a travesty for the resident wildlife if this long and narrow site was developed and fenced off. Also, this fire break has another very important and obvious function as a physical gap from bushfire threat. In 2020, fire was widespread in Ball Bay and Halliday Bay for a day and a night. Fire burnt right down to the grassy scrub areas just behind Adamson Street houses. Fortunately, the mowed fire break, which is mowed by local residents, stopped reaching key houses. Fireproofing the Palms Van Park may be impossible, as this development would be actually in the fire break and at the base of a forested hill. This is a dangerous scenario. As it stands, the extent of the proposal and the large number of van sites is quite alarming. I seriously suggest that maybe the development proposal could be resubmitted as a smaller development consisting of the previous historical van site, which is on the eastern corner of the proposal. To sum up, I think any plans behind and parallel to Adamson Street are environmentally delinquent as well as very risky regarding fire safety. Thank you all for listening to my concerns, and I will appreciate your careful consideration of this development proposal.
Thanks, Ms. Cox. Thanks very much. Tony White.
Mayor, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'll be brief. There's been good points raised by the previous two candidates, and 3 minutes is not enough to address that report that you have put on your website. Your report is characterised by a complete lack of any communication with local residents. As a resident, I've certainly not been involved in any meetings. I've not seen any documentation, flyers, pamphlets, or anything else. Information on this has been gained by the Tuesday morning Women's Craft Group, and I think that's pretty sad. I will say, however, that the planning report, as I read it, is fairly typical. It's full of very well presented facts, but it also has errors and omissions. And I would like to address those separately in writing to you, Mayor, if I may, rather than present those right here and now. The development, as you have proposed it, will destroy Halliday Bay's lifestyle. And I'm not aware of any residents that live there now that are supporting it. Just briefly on some of the errors and omissions. The statements in that report about the road network system being adequate and safe, I find astonishing. Also, some of the reports on your wildlife protection, I find equally astonishing. And as a volunteer firefighter and a treasurer of the Halliday Bay Fire Brigade, who was fought a fire on that very hill 18 months ago that went for 12 hours, I'd really like to see your fire report. I don't think I should dwell any further on this, as I've made those points, and I would like to address it in writing for the record, if I may.
Thanks very much, Mr. White. There's no further registered speakers for this. So, councillors, it's a fairly comprehensive MCU. The officer's recommendation on page 167 is that in accordance with the Planning Act, Council approves the development application for DA 24134, 2024-134 for an MCU for the development permit of a tourist park with the 55 conditions that are attached to it. You might note in the report there were 16 submitters, so 16 people have read it and written in. Most of those submitters were all by one, were against it. Director, is there anything further you want to add to this?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. As you've said, this application is recommended for approval. There was quite a complex assessment undertaken for this development application. A range of issues were investigated by both council and also the state government through the referral process, and that has resulted in a range of conditions to address those issues. But where the assessments ultimately landed is the issues that have been raised can be addressed via conditions where there are non-compliances with the planning scheme or the planning framework. This is a proposal that's supported through the strategic framework of the planning scheme, but also is consistent with other strategic objectives of council around RV parking and camping and tourism related developments. So as a result, this is recommended for approval.
Okay, thank you. Questions for the Director? No questions? Yes, Councillor Mackay.
Thanks, Mayor. Just in relation to the drainage issue that's been raised, could we just get clarification on what is going to alleviate those concerns? Like, as part of this development, I see that, can I just get a bit more information, basically?
Director.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So at the moment, there's a lack of drainage infrastructure in that area. As part of this development, drainage infrastructure will be established to address the drainage in that area. So that has been considered as part of the development, and that will then flow through in the conditions, and also in the as part of the operational works approval.
It's part of the conditions, wasn't it, in draining?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
And
that's right. Well, it was certainly
yes.
It was certainly conditioned.
Yes.
In the drainage. Councillor May, did you have a question?
I did have a question, just in regards to the sewerage effluent. I'm just, I know that the state have approved that particular area. Did our officers have any assessment of that particular approval? Like, were we consulted as a council in that particular approval?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Because of the scale of the septic system that's proposed, does sit with the state, and they have the technical expertise to assess this. It actually becomes an environmentally relevant activity, so it is a high standard of a high standard that they have to meet in terms of that facility because of the volume. So that is then assessed and approved by the state, and then also that environmental authority that is granted is managed by the state.
Councillor Sheedy.
Thank you, Worship. Could we have some explanation about condition 30, bushfire management, about the requirements and recommendations of the approved bushfire management plan?
Yes, thank you, Worship.
Yes, Director.
Yes, the bushfire management plan, I don't have it in front of me. It is a standard requirement, but it has to be prepared by an appropriately qualified person. And so that would have been done, it would have been assessed by our officers. And then what generally happens is those management plans will have a range of different recommendations in terms of, there might be separation distances. I think in this case there was some further vegetation clearing that was required to establish those fire breaks. So those sorts of things are then put in place by the bushfire management plan that has to be delivered as part of the development. It's a matter that we do take very seriously based on fires that have occurred in the region, and the planning scheme provisions were strengthened a couple of years ago in response to that.
So in accordance with the condition 30 that you raised, the approval hinges on the document. So they don't get approval unless there's the approved bushfire management document presented. That's what the condition is.
Yes, thank you. They have to implement the approved document.
Councillor Patton.
Yeah, so we're up around 55. We are 55 conditions. Is that standard practice for something like this, like 55 conditions on this development?
Yes, thank you, Worship. For a development like this, this is a larger scale development in the location that it's proposed. So I wouldn't say that's an unreasonable number of conditions. But at the end of the day, as long as we will look to implement reasonable and relevant conditions that are required for the development, which is what we've done.
Other questions, Councillor Mackay?
Just with what's been raised about the newly developed area for the wildlife corridor, in relation to the wallaby community, just looking for that condition in relation to that protection, where does that fall, just, in our plan?
Thank you, Worship, sorry, did you have
Just in relation to the new, like that wildlife corridor that's been mentioned,
I think the submitter was referring to the fact that what is currently now considered a wildlife corridor will be part of the caravan park, the tourist park. There was an assessment in terms of that sort of coastal area and wildlife, particularly turtles, by the state as part of their referral. My understanding is the SARA conditions relate primarily to turtle management rather than agile wallabies.
All right, further questions? No further questions? The officer's recommendation is that in accordance with the Planning Act, Council approve the development application DA 134 for an MCU for the development permit for the tourist park, subject to those 55 conditions and officers' reports. Somebody like to move? You have a further question?
I did have one more, sorry.
I'll accept it.
Thank you. So just for clarity, these 55 conditions that have been put onto this development, these all need to be presented before the final approval, as in like all submitted, or have they already been submitted to us as part of that development plan? Just for clarification, sorry.
The conditions don't become a condition until we approve it. Okay, and the approval will be with all of these conditions attached to it. So that's what the developer has to do to actually get sign off on the development. Director?
Yes, thank you, Worship. So the conditions govern how the development is then implemented. So in moving forward, the developer will have to comply with those conditions as part of their delivery and operation of the development.
Councillor Mackay?
So the one of the conditions I think I noted there was like a 4-week duration stay. Is that correct? Yeah. So who monitors that? Like, do we? That's one of the conditions. So who actually monitors that is all happening, those 55 conditions?
Okay, that's a good question. Councillor, Director?
Yes, thank you. So we have a process of material change of use audits where we do look at the compliance with conditions, and that includes payment of infrastructure charges. In terms of ones that are sort of part of the ongoing operation, like the 4-week stay, caravan parks or tourist parks are also subject to a level of licensing and regulation under our local laws. So there's a level of ongoing management and regulation in that way. And otherwise, if there are any compliance issues that come up in relation to this or any other conditions, we will investigate through our development compliance team and take appropriate action.
Councillor, the timing for all of those conditions is listed in your agenda item. So the condition and the timing, when we expect it to be carried out. So it's all contingent on the development happening. All right, so Councillor Sheedy.
Your Worship, I just have a concern.
Is there a question, Councillor Sheedy?
I do have a concern, and I want to raise it about the question of bushfire management, which one of the submitters here with practical experience in the issue has raised. And I personally feel that those submissions need to be considered.
We're not debating it at the moment, Councillor Sheedy. If you've got a question, now's the time to raise the question.
And what I'm going to suggest is that we lie this on the table pending.
Councillor Sheedy, we are not debating, and I'm not taking anything that might happen in a debate as a question. So if you have got a question, you put the question now, please.
I've just made my comments. I'll leave it at that. Thanks, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions? Councillor Mackay.
Sorry. Just to the fire break wall. So if it's being taken, so is there, as part of that plan, because we haven't seen the fire, is there going to be a new fire break?
Yeah, I'm not across what's in the bushfire management plan, but I do know that those are developed by appropriately qualified people, and that is important. We need to have experts in this area who are developing and then signing off on those plans. So I'm comfortable though, like I said, with the rigour that we apply to this area through the planning scheme, that those matters would have been appropriately addressed for this particular development as part of that plan. The way that it's addressed through the conditions, where we condition that bushfire management plan and its recommendations be implemented, is standard in terms of meeting the objectives of the bushfire overlay, because it's not for our officers who may not have particular expertise in that area to be coming up with individual conditions. We do leave that to people with specific expertise in those areas.
Councillors, we had a briefing on this on the 11th of June. These are some of the questions I would have expected around the table at the 11th of June, not at this 11th hour. However, that being said, I think we've exhausted the questions. Is somebody going to move the officer's recommendation? Councillor Jones moves, seconded by Councillor May. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Worship.
Oh, sorry, Councillor. I just saw it's a delay. It's a delay in your hand up there, but Councillor May seconded it. Thanks, Councillor Hassan. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Worship. Our planning scheme is a very broad document. It enables developers to develop in our town to move forward now and into the future. The staff has certainly worked very, very hard at looking at this application and taking into consideration the 16 submitters' concerns. It is in line with what we want to see in our town regarding the RV strategy, and the conditions have been provided by our team and the state government. And I think that what we have right now, Your Worship, is a good outcome. Thank you.
Speaker against? Are there any other speakers? All right. Once again, the officer's recommendation is in accordance with the Act. Development application 134 for an MCU development permit for a tourist park, subject to the 55 conditions, be approved. Those in favour? Any against? There's 2 against, Councillor Corowa and Councillor Sheedy. You voted in favour, I think, Councillor Hassan? Thank you. All right, motion's carried. Thank you. Let's move on. 11.4.2, the DA number 63, which was reconfiguring a lot for a development permit for boundary realignment, two lots into 2 lots at Oaken and Serena Road at Oaken. Now, this came up at last meeting and was defeated at last meeting. I have no intention to re-debate this because it's already a defeated motion to council. It's on this agenda because we didn't offer last meeting an alternative motion or reasons why the council defeated it. And so I noticed that we have a alternative motion. Councillor Johnson, are you prepared to move that? Is there a seconder for the alternative motion? Councillor Jones seconds. All right, before we actually put the alternative motion, Councillor Johnson, are there any questions around this? No questions? All right, it's pretty well straightforward. Councillor Johnson, you want to move?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just to reiterate, this application is a boundary realignment that is already happening through lease arrangements. We're going from 2 lots to 2 lots. It is redesigning the lot in a way that makes sense logically for usability. Instead of having one unusable 9-hectare block, this will be 2 workable lots, increasing agriculture use. Overall, that's a better outcome, not worse. The matter of the minimum of size lots, in my view, is irrelevant. These lots already exist. Refusing the application on the technicality doesn't reflect the reality of the land use, of how it is being used is not practical. So this practical boundary realignment makes the land more viable for agricultural use, not less. So I can't see any reason to stand in the way of that. I'm happy to move the alternate motion with the attached conditions.
Thanks, Councillor Johnson. Speaking against. Are there any other speakers? Councillor May, speaking for.
Yes, thank you very much, Worship. I think this is a sensible outcome for this particular development or change of boundary application. Having 2 lot sizes around that 40 hectare actually gives both owners the opportunity to be able to use their land, and the particular lot in that's the one on the Homebush Road is actually got a water allocation. So increasing that lot size to around the 40 hectares will enable the owners there to be able to do irrigated cropping if they wish. And the other land is more suitable to cattle grazing. So we've managed to achieve 2 very good outcomes, I think, as far as the use of rural land. We're not losing any rural land. we're just changing boundaries, we're not creating any additional lots, so this is a good outcome.
Thanks very much, Councillor May. Are there any other speakers? I note that I'm happy that we've provided the reasons behind our objection to the officer's recommendation, and this comes attached with a whole series of conditions as well. All right, so if there's no further speakers, I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? Councillor Bell is recorded against. The motion's carried. Thank you. Let's move on. 11.4.3, the facilitating development of Mackay Region policy for Oliphant's investment at 63 Norris Road. So the officer's recommendation is for approval, concession of 75% applied against the net charge amount and reduction in water and sewage connection service fees, 50% discount up to a maximum of $500 for each service, and that the approval of concessions is dependent on a range of conditions. Predominantly, it must be commenced use by the 18th of June 2027. Are there questions? No questions? Would somebody like to move? Councillor Mackay moves, seconded by Councillor Jones. Councillor Mackay.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd like to speak in support of the motion to approve the discounts under the Facilitating Development Policy for the proposed childcare centre. Firstly, I just want to take a moment to thank our staff for the excellent work that's gone into preparing this report. This application is a great example of the Facilitating Development Policy being used exactly the way that it was intended, to support projects that deliver real benefits to our community. In this case, we're looking at a development that not only meets the aims of Schedule 5, focusing on community facilities, but it also brings with it significant economic value. The delivery of a new childcare centre is something that directly supports local families. It helps meet the growing demand for early childhood services and creates valuable construction jobs along the way. These are the kinds of developments that we want to encourage, ones that support our residents and contributes to the local economic growth at the same time. It's really positive to see this policy in action like this. When we provide the right incentives for the right projects, everyone benefits. Our families, our workforce and the wider community. So again, thank you to the staff for the great work on this, and I'm very happy to support this motion.
Thanks very much, Councillor McRae. Speaker against? Any other speakers? No other speakers? I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. So 11.4.4, the adoption of Council Policy number 87, the voluntary mechanism for stormwater quality. Fairly well straightforward. Anybody got a question on this? No questions? Would somebody like to move? Councillor Jones moves, seconded by Councillor Johnson. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Worship. Industry consultation and proposed amendments to the policy were undertaken in April. The policy has provided a different approach and opportunity to developers to deal with their stormwater. After consultation, this policy remains a viable option to on-site systems, and I agree with the officer's recommendation.
Thanks very much, Councillor Jones. Speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.4.5, small business friendly commitment. This is just, obviously we're going to sign something later on today, but this is a recommendation that the council endorses the small business friendly commitment and authorises me to sign the commitment on council's behalf, which we'll do later on today if this gets up. Are there any questions? Straightforward. Would somebody like to move? Councillor Johnson moves. Councillor McRae seconds. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a former committee member of the Mackay Region Chamber of Commerce, I know how important our relationship is with small business. And re-signing this small business friendly charter shows how we are actively supporting small business. With Council's commitment to the charter, it becomes a guiding document so that small business is front of mind with all facets of our organisation. It could be from procurement opportunities on how to make that more accessible, or looking at our services and how we can cut red tape to deliver better outcomes for business. I'm very passionate about small business, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to support the motion.
Thanks very much, Councillor Johnson. Speaker against? Are there any other speakers? Councillor McRae, speaking for.
Thank you, Mayor. We all know how vital small businesses are to our community. They're not just economic drivers, They're run by our neighbours, our friends and our families. They sponsor our local sports clubs, support community events and create jobs that keep people living and working locally. Our region has a strong, diversified economy across health, tourism, education, agribusiness and the MET sector. And our small businesses are the glue that helps hold all of that together. By endorsing this commitment, we're reinforcing our pledge to support small business in real and practical ways by listening to their needs and offering them better access to opportunities and helping them grow. It ensures that we remain mindful of their issues and priorities when we make decisions for the community, and that we are doing everything we can to help these businesses flourish. Our endorsement today would be a clear message to our community that Council backs small businesses. We are committed to growth, innovation and making sure that our economic development is inclusive and sustainable. This is about making sure that we're the region of choice, not just for big industry, but for the small businesses that make our region livable, vibrant and strong. I'm proud to support this.
Thanks very much, Councillor Mackay. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Pat, speaking for?
Just speaking for, just briefly. I actually myself own a small business. I've been involved in small business my whole life. Since 2012, I took the reins of my own small business, and concepts like this is very much needed, and very well supported throughout the community. So anything to do with small business and looking after our locals is a must.
Thank you very much, Councillor Patton. Other speakers? I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.5 now, infrastructure and operations, and in 11.5.1, the strategic asset management plan, the SAMP. Once again, briefings we've had. The strategic asset management plan is attached. It's a comprehensive document. It's very good. The officer's recommendation is that the strategic asset management plan, the SAMP, be endorsed by council. Are there questions? No questions. Would somebody like to move? Councillor Johnson moves. Councillor May seconds. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge all the team's effort on establishing the strategic asset management plan. Well done. The plan is one of our 4 key documents that us as councillors influence to set a long-term direction for the region. As a strong plan, this helps us manage our diverse asset base worth up to $4.35 billion. And efficiently, and also allows us to make the right decisions today to ensure the services are continued on in the future that the community rely on so heavily. So I'm happy to support the endorsement of the report.
Thanks, Councillor Johnson. Speaker against? Any other speakers? Okay, I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried unanimously. In corporate services then, at 11.6.1, the contractual arrangements for a tendering exemption for LinkedIn sole supplier arrangements. Fairly short report, but it's the officer's recommendation that under the local government regulations, council resolves that because of the specific nature of the service, it would be impractical and disadvantageous for council to invite quotes or tenders for the supply by other suppliers other than the original supplier, which is LinkedIn Corporation. Any questions? Would you like to move? Councillor May moves, seconded by Councillor Johnson. Councillor May.
Thank you very much. Look, I think this is a very useful tool when it comes to recruiting and to enable processing of those applications and hopefully timely appointment of people into our organisation. So I think an investment in this particular area is well worthwhile.
Thank you very much, Councillor May. Speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. All right, still in 11.6, 11.6.2 now, the Queensland Audit Office's 2025 interim report to council. A fairly straightforward report. Are there questions around that? No further questions. The officer's recommendation is that council receive the 2025 interim report as prepared by the Queensland Audit Office. Somebody like to move? Councillor Patton moves, seconded by Councillor Sheedy. Councillor Patton. No. Okay. Are there any speakers? I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. 11.6.3 then, the strategic financial report for May 2025. The report's actually attached. That's a good report, CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. So there's obviously a lot of adjustments come the end of the financial year, and we're watching those very closely. This is crunch time, I suppose. There's a number of forecasts that we're keeping an eye on. including fees and charges, and some of those things are dictated at the end of the year in relation to weather, etc. The annual conversation around the payment plan for the federal assistance grants, when that may hit, has a big impact on what the end of financial year may look like. And the other one is we have a couple of big accounts that we're tracking up on, and we'll have a conversation with council in relation to the timing of some of those and what that might actually mean. Otherwise, there's a lot of adjustments, and that's not unusual for this time of year. Again, it's crunch time at the end of the year. If myself, I'm sure through the Director of Corporate Services, would be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, councillors? No questions? Well, it's a fairly, for this time of the year, I know that crunch time is to come, but with $109,000 in the bank, we're recording $4.55 billion worth of assets, and a marginal, but still on the right side of the ledger, surplus at the end of the year, at this stage. Would somebody like to move the adoption of the Strategic Financial Report for May? Councillor Johnson moves, seconded by Councillor Corrill. Councillor Johnson?
No further commentary.
Okay, if there's no further speakers, I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried unanimously. There's no petitions to receive today. Tenders, MRC number 002, the Waste and Recyclable Collection Services and Roll-on, Roll-off, or RoRo Waste Haulage Services. It's in your agenda items today, councillors. So the officer's recommendation is that council award the contract to JJ Richards, trading as JJ's Waste and Recycling, for the fixed price schedule of rates as published. Questions? No further questions? Somebody like to move? Councillor May moves, seconded by Councillor Mackay. Councillor May.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Look, this is really an important contract for council to let, and JJ Richards has served us well in the past, so we're looking forward to that continual relationship with them and great delivery of service.
Thank you. Speaker against? Any other speakers? I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you. 13.2, the Northern Beaches Community Hub Stage 1B, which is contract number 31. This is a fairly large contract, of course, a very exciting one, and the officer's recommendation is that council award contract number 31, Northern Beaches Community Hub Stage 1B to TF Woolham & Sons for the lump sum tender price of $21,108,852.59, excluding GST. Other questions? No questions. Would somebody like to move? Councillor May moves, seconded by Councillor Jones. Councillor May.
Mr Mayor, it's great to be at tender stage. This project has been part of council right from the very beginning of the planning, the engagement with the community, to land here today to actually be able to award a contract to build the Northern Beaches Community Hub is a fairly significant milestone. I think that the contract price is very, very promising. It's very well competitive, and like the work that will be undertaken in this project, we've already got the 1A part nearly completed, so the 1B part, which is the major construction of the building and the fitting out of that building, will be something that the Northern Beaches community will be very proud of and very welcoming for sure. So it's a great milestone day today to be able to support the awarding of this contract.
Thanks, Councillor May. Speaker against? Any other speakers? No other speakers? I certainly support what the Deputy Mayor has outlined. This is quite a momentous decision for council and for the Northern Beaches community area. So I'll put that motion in. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried unanimously. Thank you very much, councillors. Well done. We move on now to consideration of notified motions. 14.1 is a notified motion from Councillor Bella about sponsorship arrangements. Councillor Bella, you so move. Okay, is there a seconder? No seconder. So sorry, Councillor Bella, the motion lapses for one of the seconder. All right, so let's move on. Public participation. There's no public participation today. Late business. Is there any late business, councillors? Confidential reports. We've got a number of confidential reports to consider. I think, yes, we do need to actually move into So Councillor Jones moves. That's a procedural motion, so I'll put that motion. Those in favour? Any against? The motion is carried. Thanks very much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll move into a
Okay, we shall reconvene the ordinary meeting now that is open to the public. The officer's recommendation is on page 8 of the report, and the officer's recommendation is that council resolves that as the following aspects of the investigation into the matter following referral of the Officer of the Independent Assessor has been followed, that as per section 234 of the Local Government Act 2009, that council is satisfied with the procedure undertaken for the investigation and the presentation of information to enable a decision to be made. Part A is an external independent professional review has been undertaken as part of this process, and Part B has been an undertaking consistent with the provisions of natural justice, and that council give the Office of the Independent Assessor a notice advising of the decision of council as to whether or not councillor has engaged in a conduct breach in accordance with section 150 AHA of the Local Government Act 2009, and further that the council consider the matter and information provided and resolves to decide allegations of conduct breach against councillor Sheedy in accordance with section 150 AG of the Local Government Act 2009. Then we get a mover and a seconder for that, or we add the next part in.
So Chair, I think we'll do the first two together, and that last one was really a pointer for council to make a decision. So I think the way it's on the screen there, the more procedural ones, we'll take those two together and get them out of the road, so to speak.
Yes, sure. So would somebody like to move as per the recommendations on the screen there? Councillor Johnson moves, seconded by Councillor Jones. All those in favour? Nobody's against, that's carried. And that further that council.
Go to Councillor Johnson's.
Yes, I was going to just read it out, that's all, but you can see it on the screen, that's fine with me.
No, sorry, that's the one that was in the report to prompt the decision.
Yes.
So what you're after is the one that's on page 7. The council decides that councillor Sheedy has not engaged in a conduct breach as per section 150 AG 1A of the Local Government Act in relation to the allegation that councillor Sheedy has breached the behavioural standard in the Code of Conduct for Councillors in Queensland.
So Councillor Johnson's moving that. We have a seconder for that motion. Councillor Mackay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour of the motion? Those against? No, it's 4-4. 4-4. So I'll use my casting vote to not support that motion. So the next motion will be moved by Councillor Hassan, that councillor Sheedy has engaged in a conduct breach as per the section 150 AHA of the Local Government Act, and that the council decides that councillor has engaged in the breach, and councillor will select the option of training for councillor Sheedy and 25% of the cost of the investigation for councillor Sheedy. And that's being moved by councillor Hassan. Seconded by, I'll second it. So put the motion. All those in favour? Anybody against? So that's carried. Sorry, that is lost. So we now have a third motion that there has been council decides that councillor Sheedy has engaged in a conduct breach and that no further action be taken. Moved by councillor Payton, seconded by councillor Jones. All those in favour? All those, and those against? So let me get this right. So I've got 4 in favour of that motion.
Sorry, I was in favour of that.
You're in favour of the motion and 3 against.
No. 3 against.
Sorry, can we just do that again? I had 4-4.
Yeah.
Councillor Johnson has indicated
Sorry,
that.
I was meant to be in favour, apologies about that.
So it's 5-3.
So just for the record, the 3 against.
3 is myself, councillor Hassan and councillor Bella.
Right.
Okay, and that's a conclusion of that matter.
Well done, Deputy Mayor.
Okay.
So I think, Chair, we can get the other 2
We
members
can,
back.
yes, we'll get councillor Sheedy and the Mayor back into the meeting, and then the meeting can decide whether we want to continue in confidential confidential to consider the other reports, or we will be reading and taking the reports as read.
Hasn't got any cooler.
No, it hasn't.
Thanks, councillor. 17.2. We're still in confidential.
No, we're in ordinary meeting.
Have you
If-
done all the
no,
confidential?
no, if you want to
All right.
go back into confidential, we can, or we can move along.
So have you done all the confidential items?
I've only done my item.
Okay. Is there a need to go back into confidential? There is, okay. So you've only done 17.1?
Yes.
So we need to address 17.3, 4 through to 17.7. Okay.
I mean,
That's why we went back to open council.
Right, very good. Right, you ready? All right, so 17.1 has been done. 17.2, approved sponsorship under the Invest Mackay events and conference attraction program for 2025. Somebody like to move? Councillor May moves, Councillor McRae seconds. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried, thank you. 17.3, Economic Development and Growth Strategy Advisory Committee, Subcommittee report. The draft minutes from the 1st of May meeting. Somebody like to move? Councillor McRae moves, Councillor Patton seconds. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. 17.4, approved concessions under the Facilitating Development of the Mackay Regional Policy for 2025. Councillor McRae moves, seconded by Councillor Corriver. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. 17.5, sorry, Councillor Bella. 17.5, the sale of lands for arrears of rates. Somebody like to move? Councillor May moves, seconded by Councillor Patton. Those in favour? Any against? The motion's carried. Thank you.
Sorry.
Anyone like to be back in?
I was actually against, sorry.
Oh, you're against.
I was against.
So you're against the, which one was that?
17.5.
17.5?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, Councillor McRae records against, okay. The motion's carried. 17.6, infrastructure charges waivers considered by the CEO. Somebody like to move? Councillor Johnson moves, Councillor May seconds. Those in favour? Any against?
Sorry.
You
Was it
voted for?
concentrating?
You voted for?
Yeah.
Okay, the motion's carried, thank you. And 17.7, the confidential exhibition travel. Somebody like to move? Councillor McRae moves, seconded by Councillor May. Those in favour? Any against? Motion's carried. Thank you. Thanks, councillors. Thank you, CEO. Thank you, directors. Declare the meeting closed. We have a sign.